and welcome back to The Little Red Hen. Today I want to share with you a super simple, frugal way to make your own bone broth or chicken broth. Okay, so what I have here is a container full of rotisserie chicken bones, and this is a great way to use a rotisserie chicken. There are so many different ways to use it. If you get them at Costco or at Sam's Club, they are so affordable and very frugal, and there's just lots of uses. You can use it for dinner, you can take it apart, use the meat for enchiladas, quesadillas, chicken salad. I mean, there are just so many different things, but then you're left with all this carcass and these bones. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to put them into my Instant Pot. Set that aside. Another frugal tip that I have besides just using these bones is using your scraps from your vegetables. So in this bag, I keep this in my freezer. In this bag, I have parts of onions, so when I chop the ends off to use the middle part of the onion, I toss them in this bag. I have the bottoms of celery. I'll take one out because I'm about to put it into my Instant Pot. So in here, I have like the bottom half, with some herbs there that I had left over, parsley and different things like that. I toss in here as well. So then this is the bottom portion of my celery. My family goes through a lot of celery, and I had some in my refrigerator, so I just got it ready to chop up for us to have for some snacks. And I take the ends and I take the little tips and I put them all in this bag. I wash it all, and then for carrots I do the same thing. I take the little tips and the little ends and I toss that part in this bag. You're not going to be eating any of it, you're just going to be getting the nutrients from it and the flavor. So if you just take this bag, I'm going to pop it back in the freezer, even if it is empty. Another frugal tip is to do that so that you're not using another bag over and over. So I'm going to go ahead and toss that in my freezer, right in my veggies basket that's in my freezer. I am then going to add whatever spices and herbs you want. I don't add a whole lot of salt to my broth because I don't know how salty the item is, the meal is that I'm making. But I do use this Himalayan pink salt, and I do a couple turns in there. I also do some pepper. So another thing to remember too is when you make this, you add whatever spices and herbs that you really like. But when you're making the soup or what you're putting it in, there's not nearly as much salt content in it as there is if you were to purchase it from the store. So make sure you are tasting what you are making so that you can make sure there is enough flavoring in there for you. Then I take some garlic. I have this giant thing that I split with a friend, and I toss that in there because garlic is really good for you. A lot of health benefits, and it also adds really good flavor. I will then just top it off with some water. Another thing that I add into my broth might be kind of strange for some people, but it is apple cider vinegar. I add the tiniest splash to it. Vinegars are very good for you to cook with. There's a lot of good stomach gut fermentation, and it also helps get some of the nutrients out of the bones for you to have a good healthy bone broth. Once I have put my valve on sealing, I then push soups or broth, and I have it for 2 hours. So it is just going to sit in here and do its thing for 2 hours. If you don't have an Instant Pot, you are still able to make this recipe. Just pop it in your crock pot or on your stove, and you just cook it all day on low instead of pressure cooking it. So this is what it will look like when it is done. It has cooked for 2 hours, and I let it just pressure release for over an hour. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to dump it out into a cheesecloth. This is what it looks like. I have the cheesecloth and the broth is setting in there. I'm going to actually let it sit for a few seconds to cool because it burns my hands. This is just a little cheesecloth that my kids made at school one year for me, but that's why there's designs on the end of it. So you have strained it. You are left with this beautiful, just healthy, nutrition-dense broth that you can just go ahead and pour into jars, and when you want to use it, and then when you would like to use the broth, you just take it out of the freezer that morning or the night before. You can put it in your refrigerator the night before. I set it on my counter if it's the same day, and you can just go ahead and use it for your meal. So I hope you have a blessed day, and thank you again for watching The Little Red Hen.